Coach, will look like Sophie Cunningham has leaked some super important information about the future of the WNBA. And pretty much how everything is going. Now, this is an article that came out early this morning, kind of depicting everything Sophie Cunningham had to say. It's being reported that Sophie Cunningham sounds alarms with WNBA CBA negotiations. Sophie Cunningham's most recent WNBA CBA update is not what fans want to.
Sophie Cunningham just dropped a bomb on her podcast that has every WNBA fan freaking out right now. No sugarcoating, no corporate speak, just straight up reality. She said the CBA talks are spiraling toward a lockout and kept calling the whole mess dumb, over and over again. And here's the scary part. If she's reading this right, we might not see any basketball in 2026 at all. So what do you think? Will the players really sacrifice an entire season over these contract negotiations? Or is someone gonna cave before we lose everything? Tell me what you think is gonna happen.
Our CBA is so dumb right now that like it's heading towards the lockout. So
no progress.
No.
Like just nothing.
Honestly, nothing. We get like weekly emails from the PA side of things, and it's just so dumb.
Sophie just said what everyone's been thinking, but nobody wanted to admit out loud. The WNBA's collective bargaining negotiations are a complete train wreck, and we just got the most brutally honest update in months from someone who actually knows what's happening behind closed doors. Here's where we stand right now and why every basketball fan should be worried. The league and players' union have been going in circles since October, when the season wrapped up. It's mid-January now and absolutely nothing has moved. They're completely deadlocked with zero progress in sight. This isn't just some boring business stuff that doesn't affect fans. This paralysis is destroying everything that should be happening right now. Free agency should be in full swing. This is supposed to be the best part of the offseason, when rosters get reshuffled and big moves happen. Players switching teams, franchises building championship runs, all that excitement. Instead, we're getting nothing, because free agency literally cannot begin until they have a new CBA locked down. So while we should be getting breaking news about signings and trades, we're just watching grown adults argue about money.
And we've got comments by way of Sophie Cunningham. We also got the Rebecca Lobo comments. But let's start here. Let's start with this low rent BS from the players union. And I got to tell you, I keep talking about the way these players look, the way they're acting. They're making this league feel like it's almost like a minor league system of another professional league, like AA baseball. This kind of thing, in my opinion, makes the players look desperate. It looks like they're really trying to get something that has nothing to do with money. They're trying to make some kind of a power play statement. But the WNBA put this out. I know a lot of people's already covered this, but I at least wanted to have this up here going into the two other things I've got. For those, if you are asking, here's a petition. Please go sign our petition. As if Adam Silver in the NBA and the WNBA and Kathy Engelberg is going to listen to.
The expansion draft was supposed to happen weeks ago. Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo are the two new franchises joining the league, and they need to build their entire rosters through the expansion draft before anything else can happen. But guess what? That's frozen too until there's a CBA in place. The draft lottery that decides who gets the top picks should have already been completed.
And if we ain't at CBA negotiation, the expansion draft for the Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo likely would have taken place a month ago, guys. The lottery draft would have been a month ago, and teams will be gearing up for WNBA free agency now, which typically begins at the start.
Everything about the 2026 season is stuck in neutral because the league and players can't figure out how to divide revenue and set salary caps. If this keeps dragging on, we're not looking at a delayed start anymore. We're staring at no season at all. Sophie went on her Show Me Something podcast and basically confirmed everyone's worst nightmare. She was talking about heading to Phoenix for some promotional work, and somehow the conversation turned to these CBA talks. Her exact words were that everything's heading straight for a lockout, and she called it dumb at least 3 times in half a minute. That's not some carefully crafted statement from a PR team. That's Sophie being Sophie and telling everyone this situation is falling apart with no end in sight. So what exactly are they fighting about that's worth risking an entire season? The Players Association dropped their proposal around Christmas, asking for 30% of gross revenue plus a salary cap, around $10.5 million per team. The league countered in early December with roughly 70% of net revenue and their own salary cap structure. Here's the problem with those numbers. Players want 30% of gross revenue, which is all the money coming in. The league is offering 70% of net revenue, which is what's left after they pay all their expenses. The league's 70% of net could actually be way less real money than 30% of gross, depending on how creative they get with their expense account. This is the kind of financial chess match that can go on forever, because both sides can claim they're being generous while offering completely different actual dollar amounts. Players think they deserve a bigger slice because of the massive growth last season, thanks to Caitlin Clark and exploding TV ratings. Owners are saying the league still isn't making money and they can't hand out cash they don't have. Meanwhile, fans just want to watch basketball and players just want to play. Sophie said they get weekly emails from the Players Association, and it's basically just updates that nothing is happening. Imagine how frustrating that must be for everyone involved. The timeline is getting legitimately scary now. We're already mid-January, and if this mess drags into February, we're cutting it dangerously close for a normal season start. But if we roll into March with no agreement, the 2026 season is completely dead. Not postponed, dead. Why is March the deadline? Team USA has international games scheduled for September, and the WNBA season normally runs May through October. If they can't start until late spring or summer because of a lockout, the season gets crushed into this impossible schedule where players are exhausted. The quality suffers and it crashes right into Team USA commitment. It's the same nightmare they dealt with during the Olympics last year, when the season had to pause for the Paris Games, except this would be 10 times worse because they'd be jamming a full season into a tiny window. Nobody wants to watch basketball where players are injured and burned out from playing too many games too quickly. For Caitlin Clark fans, this is pure torture. Clark hasn't touched a competitive basketball court since the playoffs ended in October. That's already 4 months of waiting to see the league's biggest superstar play again. Fans have been patiently counting down the days until the season starts, and now there's a real chance that wait lasts the entire year. Clark already said no to Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 league happening right now. She's not playing overseas, she's just training and getting ready for the WNBA season. But what if there is no WNBA season? Does she really take a full year off basketball during her prime? That seems completely insane for a player at her level. There's also Project B, the new league launching in November. That could be an option for players if the WNBA season gets cancelled, but Project B isn't even fully operational yet, and nobody knows if they'd move up their timeline to fill a WNBA void. Clark said she's not playing in Project B either, but that could change if the WNBA actually locks out. At some point, competitive athletes need to compete. They can't just sit around doing nothing for 12 months. Maybe some of these players who said they're WNBA only would change their minds if the league actually shuts down. Sophie's comments suggest she thinks a lockout is probable, not just possible. That's a major shift from all the optimistic public statements we've been getting from both sides. Most official updates have been carefully worded to sound positive while not actually promising anything. Sophie just cut through all that noise and said what everyone's thinking. This is dumb. It's getting worse and we're probably headed for a lockout. The fact that she's getting weekly emails that basically say no updates, same situation, tells you how completely stuck this process has become. These talks have been going for months, and the two sides apparently aren't even close enough for real negotiations. They're just sitting on their positions waiting for someone else to cave first. From a fan perspective, this feels absolutely unnecessary. The WNBA just had the best season in league history for ratings, attendance, and mainstream coverage. Caitlin Clark brought millions of new fans to women's basketball. TV networks are paying record money for broadcast rights. This should be a celebration of growth and success, not a labor war that threatens to cancel everything. But that's exactly why players are pushing so hard for a better deal. They know the league is more valuable than it's ever been, and they want their fair share of that increased value. They don't want to sign a long-term CBA that locks them into lower pay while the league keeps growing and making more money without them. Owners are being cautious because they don't know if last season's success was a one-time Caitlin Clark phenomenon or the start of sustained growth. They don't want to commit to higher salaries based on projections that might not happen if ratings drop once the novelty fades. Both sides have valid concerns, but none of that matters to fans who just want basketball or players who want to play. The longer this continues, the more damage it does to all the momentum from such an incredible season. Sophie calling it dumb repeatedly on her podcast matters because she's absolutely right. From the outside, it looks completely dumb. You have a league that just experienced unprecedented success, and instead of building on that momentum, they're risking everything over money splits that most fans don't understand or care about. Those weekly emails Sophie mentioned are probably generic updates, saying they're holding firm on demands and negotiations continue. But if there's no actual progress in those emails, that's a terrible sign. It means they're not even negotiating in any real way. They're just waiting. And waiting is the worst possible strategy when you're racing against a deadline. March is approaching fast, and once we hit March without a deal, the pressure becomes massive. Do players really want to give up an entire season of salary and playing time? Do owners really want to destroy all the momentum from last season and potentially lose fans who just discovered the sport? Logically, both sides should be motivated to make a deal quickly, but labor negotiations don't always make sense. Sometimes ego and stubbornness take over and everyone digs in until it's too late to fix anything. The impact on Caitlin Clark's career and brand is huge too. Her Nike signature shoe launches soon. That's massive for her personally, and for women's basketball overall. But if there's no WNBA season for her to showcase those shoes, does that hurt the launch? Do casual fans stay interested in signature shoes when the athlete isn't playing? Clark has already lost months of game time. If she loses an entire year, that's a huge chunk of her athletic prime just gone. She's not going to be in her early 20s forever. Every season counts, especially for a generational talent like her. For other players, the stakes are different, but just as serious. Veterans near retirement might only have a few seasons remaining. Losing one to a lockout could mean losing a huge percentage of their final earning years. Younger players trying to establish themselves need court time and development. Missing a year hurts everyone differently, but it hurts everyone. Sophie's frustration makes complete sense. She's a professional athlete who wants to play basketball and make a living. Instead, she's stuck waiting for executives and union reps to solve revenue-sharing equations. That would drive anyone crazy. Her turbid honesty might actually help though. Sometimes these negotiations need outside pressure to move forward. If fans start demanding loudly that both sides make a deal, maybe that creates enough heat to force compromises. So there it is. Sophie Cunningham just confirmed what everyone was terrified to admit. The WNBA is heading for a lockout, and the 2026 season is in real danger. The negotiations are frozen. Nobody's giving ground, and time is running out fast.